Hey guys, HotRod08 here, and welcome to Support Patch Notes 8.10, where I'll be going over the changes that affect support champions for each patch during Season 8, as well as providing a place for you guys to discuss the changes below. Now, patch 8.10 was supposed to be one of the bigger patch changes, but they moved a lot of the changes from 8.10 to 8.11, so we don't have too many things to go over today. We do have a pretty decent amount of rune changes, but around that, let's begin. Starting off this patch notes is going to be our only champion change for this patch, and that is going to be coming to Bard, which is getting a mana decrease on his W, going down from 90 mana to 70 mana. Now this is especially important for Bard's laning phase, as that 90 mana was really expensive for him in order to sustain both his ally and himself. Now while he was able to go around and get chimes to get his mana back, that 90 mana was a lot compared to his mana pool early in the game, so it dropping 20 mana per use is definitely going to help him in his laning phase. Heading down the list is going to be a change coming up to the warding totem. So what they're doing is they're increasing the ward duration from 60 to 120 seconds to 90 to 180 seconds. But now the charge timer is actually going to be increased as well along with it. So that's going to be changing from 180 to 90 seconds up to 240 to 120 seconds. So what's going to be is you're going to have less wards during the laning phase in order to put down, but when you do put a ward down, it's going to last longer. So the decision of when you put down your ward is going to mean a lot more than it does currently in patch 8.9. Moving down our list, we're going to go to our rune changes, and we're going to talk about each tree itself and the changes that affect support. So the first thing we're going to talk about is our domination tree. So they are buffing Cheap Shot from 12 to 30 damage to 15 to 60 damage. That's actually a pretty good buff to the rune. Cheap Shot isn't really used that much, so for them to increase the damage almost twice as much in the later game really is going to help that rune out a lot. And then Ingenious Hunter is getting just a slight buff, as the beginning percentage you start the game off is going to be increased from 10 to 15%, but it stacks 5 times, and that stacking is going to go down from 6% to 5%. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to have more percentage than you did prior to this patch, but once you get all 5 of your stacks, it's going to end up at the same percentage at 40%. So just a slight buff, but it does help your early game out just a little bit once you do start getting those item active cooldowns and you're not maxed out yet. Heading into the sorcery tree, we're just going to talk about the really quick Phase Rush is getting a slight buff. The movement speed is getting increased from 15 to 40% to 25 to 40%. So earlier in the game, that movement speed is going to be just a little bit higher, so it's actually going to make a difference as opposed to having to wait into the later games for it to actually increase to that 40%. 25% movement speed is a lot more useful than just 15% movement speed. Heading on to the Resolve tree, the first rune we're going to talk about is going to be Demolish, which is receiving a slight buff to its base damage from 125 to 175. So that extra 50 damage all stages within the game, doing that extra tower damage can add up, especially if you're pushing game multiple towers, and with the turrets being more difficult to take down from recent patches to like 5-6 patches ago, that extra 50 damage is really going to help. The next thing we're going to talk about is Chrysalis, which the health is getting a slight nerf from 60 to 50. Now that 10 extra health isn't like game breaking in any single way, shape, or form. That 10 health is still 10 health on every occasion. That 10 health will be the difference between you dying and you living when you have this rune. And finally, we're going to talk about Boneplane, which is also receiving a nerf to its damage reduction from 20 to 50 to 15 to 40. Now, this is actually a pretty decent nerf, as you can use Boneplane up to 3 times when it's activated. So instead of just 5 to 10 damage loss, you're actually getting 15 to 30 damage loss, the more damage that you're taking. So while Boneplane is still a decent rune in order to take less damage when you're getting bursted down, it's not going to be anywhere near as good as rune as it was during patch 8.9. And finally, we're going to move on to Inspiration Tree, and the first thing we're going to talk about is Perfect Timing, which is receiving actually a really good buff. The time available that your stopwatch is going to be available is going to go down from 10 minutes to 8 minutes. So that 2-minute difference, while it doesn't sound like it's going to be a big difference, being able to activate that stopwatch that much earlier is really going to help in your survivability and early fights, so the enemy team doesn't snowball off the death that you very possibly would have had between that 2-minute mark when you weren't able to activate that stopwatch in the first place. So that's a pretty good buff to the item. And then finally, Hextech Flash Traption is going to receive a buff. Its in-combat lockout is going to actually be decreased from 10 seconds to 2 seconds. So if you're running away and you just so happen to hit a wall and you haven't taken damage for a couple seconds and you're far enough away from them, you might actually be able to escape a lot easier now with Hextech Flash Traption than you were previously. But its original use is really not going to be affected much by like hiding in a bush and flashing out. You're really not going to be in combat locked out that much trying to do it that way. So it is just a small buff. And finally, arguably the biggest change in patch 8.10 is how bounties are being changed. So when someone that is on a huge killing spree or has been carrying the game dies, normally before patch 8.10 the gold was going to be split amongst his allies and any assists on the bounty kills would get some gold. Well, now if you got an assist on that, you're not going to get any extra gold, and the team isn't going to get gold split amongst themselves, but the person that actually got the kill on that person is going to receive a lot more gold than they did before this patch. So giving a couple examples, if that person has 1 or 2 kills, it's not going to be any bounty anymore, whereas you had 100 to 150 gold split amongst teams. Let's go down to, let's say, like 4 kills. So instead of 350 gold split amongst your team, now it's going to be 250 gold specifically to the killer. Going down to like 6 kills, instead of 450 gold split amongst the team, now it's going to be 300 gold plus 25 gold per kill beyond 5 to the person that killed that person. And then finally, it says bounty change on being killed. Dying removes 3 bounty levels. That's what happened beforehand. So if a person had 6 kills, they die, they go down to the 3rd level. Now it's just going to be them getting reset all the way down to 0. So that means that generally the game is going to get, people are just going to get a little bit less gold, and supports overall are going to get less gold too, as we're not going to be getting that shared goal. So remember that, we're going to be getting just a little bit less gold overall as a support role, since we're not the ones actually getting the kills. But in the game overall, I think this is a good change. It's going to let people be able to have a comeback if they're behind in the laning phase and they actually were able to get a kill on someone that was beating the crap out of them prior to. So again, good change to the game overall, but just a slight nerf to us support, since we're not going to be getting that shared gold anymore. And that'll be it for Support Patch Notes 8.10. What do you think the changes come to patch 8.10? Do you like the bounty changes too? That's definitely the biggest one this patch. Leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your opinions on what you think of it. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I feature support-focused League of Legends content on a weekly basis. Would love your support to the channel. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, as it really helps my video ratings out, as well as hit that notification bell next to the subscribe button if you want to be notified every time I release a video. Also, I have just started up a new Patreon for my channel. If you are a huge fan of the channel, I urge you to take a look at the different perks of being a Patreoner, ranging from supporting the channel for just $1 and having your name put at the end of every video when I get up to 3 patrons, all the way up to having me as a friend on League of Legends and having me review your games and putting them up on my channel. Right on that, you guys have a great day today. Thanks much. Bye.